Into Chapter 3. The Devil's Campfire, Red Valley Foothills, Georgia, April 4th, 1875, dusk. The mist hung low over the swamp, curling through the pines like pale fingers reaching for prey. Matthew Finn crouched behind a fallen log, rifle across his knees, ears straining to catch the slightest sound. Juniper's breaths came shallow, nervous but steady. He had pushed her hard through the afternoon, through mud, thorns, and tangled underbrush. And she was still alive. So far, he was too. But he knew better than to trust the quiet. Jonah Pike was out there somewhere, with his gang. And Matthew had no illusions. The man was patient, clever, and as cruel as the winter nights in Tennessee had proven. Scouting the camp. Through the trees, he could see the faint glow of a fire, smoke spiraling up into the evening sky. Pike's men were camped just beyond the ridge, laughing and talking quietly, rifles propped against tree trunks. Their shadows flickered in the firelight, dancing like demons across the mist. Matthew adjusted his grip on the rifle, checking the cartridges. Every shot counted. A misfire or wasted bullet could be the difference between life and death. He crouched lower. A plan was forming, one born of desperation, necessity, and the hunger to survive. He would not confront Pike head-on. Not yet. He would strike silently, methodically, and retreat before they knew he had been there. The forest seemed to hold its breath with him. Flashback. The price of leaving Pike. Matthew remembered the cold Tennessee night as if it were yesterday. The snow had fallen thickly, the rail workers frozen, terrified. Pike had aimed without hesitation, killing the Cherokee man and laughing at the chaos he'd unleashed. Matthew had drawn his rifle, but not fired at any of Pike's men, choosing instead to warn the innocents to flee. When he left, he had known he was a marked man. Pike's words had echoed in his mind as he rode into the blizzard. "You walk away tonight, Matthew Finn, and one day I'll collect what you owe." Now, 2 years later, in the dense pines of Georgia, those words felt like a noose tightening around his neck. The first night strike. As twilight descended, Matthew inched closer to the camp, careful to step only on soft earth and fallen needles. A rustling behind him, a deer, he thought. Then the smell of smoke hit his nose. The campfire. Pike's men were too absorbed in their quiet chatter to notice the slight movement in the underbrush. Matthew aimed at the first man, a lanky figure poking at the fire. A muffled crack, the sound of a small caliber rifle, and the man fell silently into the mist. Another, kneeling to sharpen a blade, tumbled forward into the fog. The shadows exploded into chaos. Pike's men scrambled, shouting, knives and rifles raised. Matthew rolled behind a tree, firing as he ran. Bullets sang past him, tearing pine needles from branches, embedding themselves in the soft earth. One man reached for him, a knife in hand. Matthew struck him across the shoulder with the butt of his rifle, sending him sprawling into the mud. The fire caught some of the underbrush, smoke rising thick and acrid. The night turned into a blur of movement, flashes of steel, and the smell of blood mixing with pine smoke. Pike emerges. Jonah Pike appeared at the edge of the firelight, rifle slung casually over his shoulder. His eyes gleamed in the glow of the flames, cold and calculating. "You've been busy," he said with a smirk, "but it won't matter. I've got men out here in the dark. You're surrounded, Finn." Matthew gritted his teeth, taking careful aim. He had already planned a retreat, a path through the swamp, through water and mud, where Pike's men would be slowed. But Pike had other ideas. "You can't hide forever," Pike whispered, and then he raised his rifle. Bang! The shot rang out. Matthew dove behind a fallen tree, bark splintering as the bullet hit the trunk inches from his head. The next seconds were chaos. A man lunged at Matthew with a knife. He spun, striking him with the stock of his rifle. Blood blossomed across the snow-streaked ground. Another came from behind a tree, Colt in hand. Matthew fired first, catching the man in the chest. He fell screaming, rifles and knives clattering around him. Pike advanced, moving like a shadow, striking with the butt of his rifle. Matthew ducked, rolled, fired. Pike caught the bullet in his coat, laughing. The fight turned into a dance of death. Every shot, every swing, every dodge could end Matthew's life. The forest was alive with smoke, blood, and the cries of men who underestimated him. Matthew knew he couldn't stay. He needed to reach the swamp. Thick mud and hidden channels would slow Pike's men, and maybe he could disappear into the mist. He bolted, rifle raised, ducking under branches, weaving through thick underbrush. Bullets tore past him, one grazing his shoulder, another grazing Juniper's flank. The swamp welcomed him like a hiding place, mud sucking at boots and hooves alike. Pike's men followed, but the mud slowed them. Matthew waded into the mist, carefully leaving trails to confuse trackers. Pike appeared at the swamp's edge, rifle raised, shouting orders to his men. Matthew ducked beneath a low branch, mud up to his knees, heart hammering. Pike cursed, frustrated. The fog swallowed him. Juniper splashed through a hidden channel. Matthew's lungs burned. He had escaped, for now, but Pike's promise rang in his ears. I'll find you. Aftermath. Matthew collapsed on a mossy bank, mud and blood caking his boots and hands. The forest was silent except for the distant caw of crows. Juniper nuzzled his shoulder, shaking off the water and mud, as if to reassure him that life continued, no matter how close he had come to death. He thought of the valley, of Boone's farm, of the life he wanted but could never have until Pike was gone. He clenched his fists. He would survive, he would fight, and one day, he would make Pike pay. Because a man like Jonah Pike didn't just threaten your life. He tested your soul, and Matthew Finn had no intention of failing that test. End of chapter 3.